Business Show. I'm Laura, and this week we're going to be talking about, should I coach for free? Now, this is such an interesting one, and I think most people would think that me as a business coach would be like, you should always charge for your coaching, you should always value your worth, you should always charge your worth and all that kind of stuff. However, I do think it's actually a little bit more nuanced than this, and I'm going to be talking about the situations when I think it would make sense to coach for free. So in this show, I'm going to be talking about the situations when I think it would make sense to coach for free, how to approach that, other things that you might want to consider, and just explore this whole question, because I think it's a really interesting one for people who are in the beginning stages of their coaching business and possibly even people who are further on. So when would it possibly be a good idea to coach for free? The first thing that I want to say is, if it doesn't feel good to you to coach for free, there's no situation where it's going to make sense, because if it doesn't feel good to you, it's not going to feel good whatever the situation is. So that's the first thing that I want to say. The next thing is, I do think there are certain situations where it could make sense if it feels good to you. And ultimately, whatever I say, it's about what you feel. So I can say whatever, but if it feels right to you, it's about what feels good to you. And that's important. But from my point of view as a business mentor, I think situations when it could potentially be okay to coach for free would be if you're starting out and you've never coached before and you want to coach people through a package perhaps that you are testing out and what you want to get confident with, and just really explore what your coaching style is going to look like. I think that could make sense. If you want to get some testimonials when you're starting out, that could potentially make sense. If you wanted to test out a new area of work, like if your work's changing direction and your niche is changing, that could be a situation where you might want to coach for free. The tricky thing with this is, and what's really important to remember, is that the value exchange is part of what helps people get results. I really believe this. When people invest, that helps them show up in a completely different way. And I think when people aren't investing in a package, sometimes they are not going to get the full results of what it is that you can offer, because they have not, perhaps they're just not showing up, because they've got no skin in the game. They haven't had to invest anything other than their time. So I feel like that's always something that you want to remember, is that could be a bit of an issue. So yeah, that's just one of those things that you want to consider in with it. But that's still not to say that coaching for free is always going to be a bad idea. If you really want to just get some confidence, and sometimes I think, like, my general opinion is, for coaches, we more want to be coaching than not coaching. If paid clients aren't coming for whatever reason, and you want to keep your toes in and keep doing your coaching thing to feel confident, then I think that could be a situation where it would make sense potentially. One of the tricky things with coaching for free is how you present that to the people in your community, in your audience. Now, if you're starting out, you might not have much of an audience, and that's fine. If you already have a bit of an audience, you already have a bit of a community, offering free coaching widely can be a little bit problematic, because if you then turn around 6 weeks later and say, hey, I've got this coaching package and it's £1,000, but 6 weeks ago you were offering it for free, that might feel quite jarring, and people might be a bit like, what the fuck, basically. That could be a bit of a thing. So that's something you might want to think about, and it might be that instead of offering free coaching sessions to your whole audience, that it's a specific subset of your audience, or that it's specific people who you want to offer that to. So that's something to consider as well. Something that you might want to think about, instead of offering free coaching, is offering coaching at a greatly reduced rate. I would have to say I'm probably more of a fan of that approach than offering it completely for free. But again, this is really about what feels good to you, and there's no right or wrong way here. There really isn't. It really is about what feels right for you. But offering it at a discounted rate, I think that means that people have had to invest. So there has been an investment, there has been an exchange. They have recognised the value that you offer. It can feel good to you, especially when you're starting out, that there's been an exchange there as well. And sometimes I think that can help. Again, you've got people who are invested, they've recognised the value, and I think that can be useful from that point of view as well. So even just charging like a really small amount, that can sometimes just shift the balance of the value balance in what it is that people are investing in. So I think that's something to consider as well. Another thing with whether it's free or whether it's discounted is you want to, I really think it's worth limiting how many that is. I'm sure everyone would do that because you've only got so many hours in the day, but I think you want to very closely limit the numbers of people who you would coach for free. That would make a lot more sense than just having a lot of people. Again, you've got to protect your energy, and your time is valuable as well. I think something that you do want to explore, if you're asking yourself this question, you're thinking, I want to offer some coaching sessions for free, I think it's really worth unpicking. Why is it that you want to do it for free? Is there some self-doubt there? Are you worrying that people won't pay if you ask people for money? What's the kind of fear underneath that? I think it's not that everyone who coaches for free is going to have that, but I think it's just an opportunity, like everything, it's an opportunity to explore. Is there something else underneath this? What's the driving force for me wanting to offer this? Does it make sense? And if it does, and if it feels good, again, it's not the wrong thing. And again, if you're a coach and you haven't coached anyone for a while and you just want to get yourself back into the flow of it, that can be really good, and I think offering it for free can make sense. There's so many different opportunities where it would, but I think it is really about figuring out, like, is it lack? Is it worrying about people not paying you? Is it worrying that you're not a good enough coach? And again, that self-doubt can really come up, and it can be that thing where it's, I don't want to charge anyone for it because I'm worried that I'm not good enough. At the same time, that can actually be a valid reason why you want to coach for free, because it can be about getting that confidence in yourself as well. But then you've also got to offset that with the fact, again, like I said, is that sometimes if people aren't paying for it, they're not going to get the full results that someone would if they paid. So there is a few things that you need to consider with it, but it's not necessarily always a bad idea. You need to just really ask yourself, what's the driving force behind doing it, and have a plan. And also think about what's going to happen after you've done work with people for free. When are you going to start offering it as a paid thing? How are you going to reintroduce that offer? Just figure out strategically. I think that's probably the key thing, is to think, what's the strategy behind doing this, and does it make sense? In what ways is this going to work? And in what ways is this about my self-worth as well? And like I say, this is not to say that anyone who offers free coaching sessions has got a self-confidence or a self-worth problem. They don't, but it's one of those things that's just worth exploring to see and figure out what that can look like. Yes, so just to sum up my thoughts around offering coaching for free, I think generally speaking, you don't want to be doing it, in all honesty, but there's some very clear exceptions. And the most clear exception is, if it feels good to you, then that is absolutely fine. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says or thinks. If it feels right to you and it feels aligned, then I'm a big believer of going with your gut. However, there are some key times, I think, which make sense. If you are brand new and you just need to get some confidence and build your skills, and maybe you've got a new coaching package you want to test out, that can make sense. If you just want to get yourself back in the game, re-get your confidence, that can make sense. If you want testimonials, that can make a lot of sense. If you want to test out a new area of work, like a new niche, or working with people around a different topic, working with people around a different problem, that can make sense. Again, you want to have that conversation with yourself. Should this be free, or should it be heavily discounted? Would you still get the same benefit if you did have some kind of value exchange there? Would you actually get a better benefit from it if you actually had a value exchange there as well? Explore what might be going on underneath the surface. Is there any kind of mindset stuff going on for you under there that needs to be explored? Have a look at that, and also have a plan in terms of who it is that you're going to offer it to, and thinking about your audience and thinking about what your plan is after you've offered the free sessions, and how you might come back around to charge, and how that kind of comes after that, and to make sure that you're not leaving people with the what the fuck, this was free 2 weeks ago, or something like that. So you might want to just consider what the time scales and things like that are going to look like as well. And ultimately, when you start off as a coach, charging for your services can feel deeply uncomfortable. It felt deeply uncomfortable when I started charging for mine. Even though I was charging £30 a session, it felt very uncomfortable, and it really triggered stuff around my self-worth and, am I going to get people results and all of that stuff. And it's a process. I've been doing this for 10 years. It was 10 years ago when I qualified as a health coach, and I've been doing this for a long time, and it's taken a long time to work through some of this stuff. And again, sometimes offering free sessions is part of the process that you need to go through to feel confident and feel good in what it is that you do, and that is okay. I don't think anyone should be shamed or feel bad for offering stuff for free if that's what feels good to you. Also, a massive thing that I should have mentioned much sooner is that another situation where you might want to coach for free is scholarship opportunities. And actually, this is a really important thing. Depending on your values and again, what feels good to you, there might be the situations where you want to coach someone for free because it's a scholarship opportunity. So it might be someone who hasn't got the same level of financial accessibility to your services. There's so many different reasons why you might want to offer someone like this kind of scholarship opportunity where they can access your support for free. And that's actually a really important thing that I should have mentioned right at the very start. But yeah, you might want to offer people a scholarship opportunity, and I think that's a very valid reason for wanting to coach people for free. So there's some very valid reasons, but you shouldn't feel bad if that's what it is that you want to do, basically. Like, there's loads of examples. I think you just want to think it out and have a strategy behind it and make sure that it makes sense and that it's not just coming from worries about your self-worth and whether or not people are going to pay you and things like that. I think those are things that's worth exploring. And just make sure that afterwards that you debrief yourself in terms of, okay, so I offered this for free. What is it that worked? What is it that didn't? Would I do it again? All that kind of thing. And what you also want to watch is that you're not getting into a pattern, I think, of offering sessions for free. At some point you are going to have to, if you want to make this a business, you're going to have to charge for your services, and you're going to have to charge appropriately as well. So I think you want to watch that there isn't some kind of pattern that you get into where you start offering stuff for free or very, very low cost, because that's going to really hold you back from making it work, and it's not sustainable, and it's not valuing your skills as a coach either. And again, it's not benefiting your clients because they're not getting the benefit of having to show up because of their investment as well. So this has been slightly rambly, but I hope it's been interesting. It was just one of those things on my mind, and it's come up a few times recently with lots of different people, actually. It's been really interesting. It's come up a few times. But yeah, it's not automatically a bad thing. Definitely not. It's just one of those things to explore. But anyway, I hope that's been interesting. I hope it's given you some things to consider and think about, especially if you've been asking yourself that question. As always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on this. Please do leave me a comment below if you are watching on YouTube. Pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlylaura, or just email me as well. I'm more than happy to email. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this, and I will see you next week. Bye.